Welcome back to Just Another Podcast. I'm Justin. I'm joined by Josh Moulton. How you doing, man?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm excellent. Yeah, I just got back from
Nice.
my honeymoon.
Yeah.
We got back Sunday night, late. Not late. I'd say 5 or 6. It's not super late, but later than I was expecting because we went to Lewiston to visit Taylor's mom and stepdad for a little bit
Yeah.
for her sister's graduation party, which was like 5 people. But that's what a
Yeah.
party is nowadays, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's great to see you. Congratulations. Obviously, I was one of the chosen few at the wedding,
I tell you what,
even
man. If
even
we
with
would have
the
found
honor of
out
being in the wedding party.
But even if we found out, so I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and I was like, if we would have found out this whole shit show that's happening in Millinocket with that
Yeah.
wedding that happened, if that would have happened like a week prior, there's no
Right.
way in hell we would have done the ceremony. No
Right.
way. We would
Yeah.
have had this small little thing here with like
Yeah.
5 people, everybody standing far apart, masks on all the time,
Yeah.
got it done, and been over with. But luckily we were able to do it safely, and it's now been over 2 weeks, so it's pretty sure that we were pretty good at our wedding. So it's a good story to tell in the
Yeah.
future. But I'm just so
Right.
glad it wasn't us. Holy crap!
Dodged a bullet there.
Can you
So
imagine?
so irresponsible.
I mean, and I don't know the whole story. None of us will know the whole story. I'm sure we know people who know people who know people or something along those lines. But
Right.
for 59 people to get it connected to that wedding, they must have been not giving a shit. Like they must have not been wearing
Yeah.
masks and not doing this, that. I mean, and we didn't wear the masks the whole time, but
Right.
it's not like we had a room that could technically fit 500 people, and we had
Right.
50.
Well, it seems to me that it's more it's more of a thing where does somebody there have it? So like if it's there, then it spreads like wildfire. Otherwise, you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of because like you look at like University of North Carolina, you know, like it seems to me that it's just super contagious. So it doesn't matter what you do if it's there, and if it's not there, then it doesn't matter, you know. So
And if
you're
it's
just
like
lucky
taking
that you
personal
didn't end up.
responsibility, and if you feel sick, don't go anywhere. Like,
Right. Yeah.
but we won't have to get into all the politics on it and all that crap. But it's just
Yeah.
we're just lucky we were able to do the wedding that we wanted to, in a sense,
Yep.
COVID related. We
Right.
took a week, went back to work, and then we went to Sugarloaf, and basically didn't we were on the patio eating food at places,
Right.
and we went hiking and swimming in streams and rivers. And then we had two of our best friends come up for one night, but they've been with us this whole time as
Right.
friends anyway, so we weren't super worried about that. But we were able to get it all done. Now it's over with, and now we can move on and not have to worry about the stress of that. However, I
Right.
did, I'll go back to work tomorrow, or I went back to work yesterday, but I'll go back to work tomorrow with actual students from UMaine coming in. So I'm a little stressed about that. Um,
Yeah.
but hopefully we'll
When
get at
does
least some people paying attention.
when does school start up there?
Next Monday.
Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever, 31st.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
So, well, so you went to so Josh went to the wedding. Josh was in the wedding.
Yeah.
He was one of the chosen 50, right? That's what we call it, the
Yeah.
chosen 50.
Yeah.
Tiffany was there also, Josh's wife, and we had a great time. I think it turned out pretty well. But
Absolutely.
what have you been up to since then? I mean, I haven't seen you since a couple weeks ago.
Right. I have been working um, pretty much nonstop. Uh, so we're working on getting this renovation done. It's a huge project, way bigger than I expected it to be. Uh, I'm literally just like waking up, first thing in the morning. Tiffany's working, taking care of the kids, running around with them to get some stuff done. Then she'll get home from work and I'll pretty much take off and go right to the theater, come home for dinner for a couple hours, hang out, and then as soon as everybody's in bed, I'm right back down there until 4 in the morning, which is what I did last night, and then was back up to take Malachi to his doctor's appointment. So that's pretty much it. I'm just like, but we've made a lot of progress in the last 2 weeks since I've seen you, because probably around that time there was not a whole lot done, to be honest. And like we've knocked out both the theaters and the arcade is like pretty much we're getting there. We'll put it that way. It's pretty close. So
But I mean,
um,
obviously, you don't want to say anything out loud. But do you have like an idea in your mind when you'd like to open? Like I said, you don't have to say it. But I'm just saying, like in your mind, are you like
yeah,
target this date and hopefully you can get it there, but you don't know, you're just trying to play it by ear? Or...
right. So I had posted something on the Queen City Cinema Club page last week saying, this it's been like as we've talked about a couple times since I've been on, like it's been like a blessing and a curse, and gave me some opportunities for funding that I might not have had through Small Business Administration. Gave me an opportunity to close and actually do the things I wanted to do without having to do it around a schedule. But it also pushed everything back on the back end. So right now it's just like I don't have, I we tried to book a plumber maybe a month ago, and it's going to be September 26th before we have a plumber in there. So let's put it this way: it'll be after September 26th.
And see, at this point, it's like you closed because due to COVID. Obviously, you closed for the
Right,
safety of yourself and all the people that go there,
right,
as well. But now it seems like now you're closed for renovations. If people like, what I mean, like if people are asking why aren't you open yet, obviously it's safety, but it's also like now you're just
right.
closed for renovations.
Yeah, don't tell Maine Department of Labor that,
Yeah,
but
exactly. No,
yeah,
no,
no,
no, no,
uh,
no.
no. I
I
would
don't
say
honestly think that any of them give a shit right now.
yeah, no. I would say that we are still closed for COVID,
COVID.
but it's not for the health part of it. It's for the we're closed due to the complications that has presented
That's a
because
good way to put it.
there's like a lot of there's shipping problems.
Yeah,
There's all the subcontractors are just booked out forever. We actually had to like one of the plumbers that we got doesn't even do commercial. We had to beg them, and they were still a month out. And then basically we ended up going with somebody else that we had already had a quote from because I was just like, you know what, I got so much work to do. It's going to take me that long to get done anyway. So the cool thing is, I'll have time to get it all done. It'll be everything that I want it to be, and we'll be open hopefully for spooky season. Which is my favorite time of the year.
it's kind of cool though, because like one of the things I always said to people when they see the new patio at OBC was the fact that when you do a renovation after you're open, or like build something new, or paint something, or do something, people see the progress. Like people, they
Right,
go in and they see, like, you pull into OBC and you're like, oh, they put a fence up, and then the next week
right,
they're like, oh, they put gravel down, and so on. So then you get to the point where like it's not a shock factor. It's like I saw this being built, and one of the benefits we had with COVID was, silver linings was, you left in March from OBC and
right,
came back, and all of a sudden out of nowhere there was a patio. And it's
right.
like people left in March from Queen City Cinema Club, and they're going to come back, you know, this fall and be like, "Holy shit, Josh did a lot of work over COVID."
When they see what we have done. Sorry, I'm looking for my power cord here. When they see what it's going to be a completely different looking place, to be honest. It's changed a lot. So plug it in. Hey Tiff.
Hey, Tiffany. But that's just, it's cool. It's a shock factor. It's going to be
She's my best boy grip.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She the idea of you being able to uh not shock factor, but be like, hey, this is a cool thing, and you didn't have to see it. Be like, don't go in here, it's under construction. It's like you
Right.
closed, and you'll open back up, and things will be, I would say, mostly done, because you're never going to be done. I mean, you're always going
Right.
to want to do something there, but like it's going to be the next stage of Queen City Cinema Club. And
Right.
so the picture you posted, is that, I couldn't tell, is that one of your old theaters that you renovated, or is that
That is the arcade.
okay?
Yeah, the glow in the dark
Yeah.
blue. Yep, that's the arcade. So we're going with a different color scheme, different kind of vibe in there. Um, it looks pretty awesome right now, and I got some more stuff to do to it. So I think it's going to be something kind of special for Bangor, to be honest.
Have you watched the new high score thing on.
I binged the entire thing
Oh,
in like
see, I
a
almost
day.
started watching it last night, and then we're into, or not last night, Saturday night, last night of our honeymoon, we just like kind of like wanted to like relax after hiking for a little while and like
Yep,
put on the TV and we're like, let's watch that new high score thing. And we put like we were about to put
yep.
it on, but we watched the show Rust Valley Restorers, which is the
Okay.
like car show, and
Yep.
season 3 came out on Friday. So
Yeah.
like, God damn it, we have to watch this. So we ended up
Yeah.
putting that on. So I haven't got a chance to watch it yet, and they almost put it on, but I'm rewatching The Walking Dead, and
Yeah.
so I was like debating on it. So now, is it good?
Yeah. It's good. It wasn't quite what I expected because I was expecting a little more kind of arcade, but like it does it covers PC, it covers consoles. There's some interesting Nintendo history. Um, so I'm into all that stuff. So that was cool. I was just like in the mode that I'm in right now because that's the room that I'm working on. I was kind of
Mm-hmm.
hoping, for a little more arcade stuff, but um, there's definitely like some really cool stories and kind of perspectives on it. I wish it was longer. I guess like 5 or 6 episodes. And, I was like basically, like I said, working all night into the morning. And I'd come home and like start watching an episode or whatever and then fall asleep. And then I got done in like, I think 2 days maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so that's
But
the
yeah,
benefit of Netflix is that we do get these documentaries that we probably never would see ever. You think they
right.
did that, the Toys That Made Us
Yeah.
series? It's like,
Yeah.
what channel out there would have put that on there? Like,
Right.
there's not enough network time for them to put it on in an actual slot. And same
Yeah.
thing with like a high score video game kind of documentary. It's like the
Right.
things that streaming networks give us the ability to is have these weird, obscure things that we're in love with that we get a place and a platform to watch them. They're not,
Right.
and even there's other companies like even Sci-Fi did like the Todd McFarlane documentary about
Yep.
his rise and fame and all that stuff. And it's like I watched that streaming online. I didn't even
Yep.
watch it on Sci-Fi, and it's just like the internet has given us the ability to put some of these cool ass documentaries out there on some of the subjects that we love that never we made. And then they made the movies that made us. So they
Yep.
did that one with like
That was
a
really
couple of
good.
cool films. That was
That's
awesome. That was
one. That's
really
one of my
cool.
favorite things I've
Mhm.
seen. Yeah, because it
So
was, I was in my master's program was film history, and not. I mean, obviously, I guess if I had studied those specific films, maybe I would have known some of that stuff. But like, just from like a general knowledge, and these are like some of the biggest films of all time. Like things that I just didn't know, and like I love like the backstories and kind of behind the scenes stuff. And my favorite movies are movies about movies. So um, that was one of my favorite things that I've seen in quite a while.
it's not surprising, but surprising to me in the same sense that the number of movies or TV shows or something it never would have been made if it wasn't for this. And it was like the
Right.
Home Alone one was like
Yeah.
it should never really have been made. It was like
Right.
basically done, and then it
Yeah.
got rebuilt into something what it is now.
Yeah.
I'm listening to Spotify podcast, the Oral History of the Office with
Oh yeah.
it's Brian Bumgarner, not Bumgarner, maybe it's Bumgarner. It's
Yeah.
Kevin
Baumgartner.
Kevin from The
Yep.
Office,
Yep.
and it makes me like there's like that show was they basically approved like 2 episodes of season 1, and then when they
Right.
stopped filming those 2 episodes, like okay, you can get 2 more, and you can get
Yeah.
2 more, and then you get 6 episodes in season 1, and they almost didn't get season 2. And then one of the other cool things is the one of the best episodes of The Office ever is Dinner Party, and
Yep.
that show was actually in the process of filming when the writer's strike happened. So it's like it's a
Oh really?
possibility that that episode never would have ever been able to be aired or made or whatever.
Right.
One of the greatest episodes on TV, in my opinion. And it's just kind of
Yeah.
funny how you only learn these things because of these other, again, I say streaming like Netflix, but Spotify and
Right.
podcasts and all these other
Yep.
avenues you can learn things from that we never would have
Yep.
learned about these obscure TV shows or even popular TV shows.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, it's like it's kind of like I don't know how to put this. Uh, like a worldwide kind of general philosophical phenomenon of like democratization, where you have like an expansion of avenues and opportunities, but also that allows specialization. So, and that's kind of like, starting with Henry Ford and
Hmm.
division of labor and all that, but everything like gets broken up into smaller and smaller pieces, and you're able to like go down these pathways. And I love learning, so that it's really cool for me to be able to like get really deep into something like that. And yeah.
Well, I mean, you and I, and probably Tiffany and Taylor and a couple of our friends, close friends, don't need certain reasons to rewatch things. Like we just rewatch things because we're fascinated with things. The number of
Right.
times that most of us have rewatched Star Wars or Indiana Jones or Back to the
Right.
Future or any of these big series from the 70s and 80s. But what these new TV shows or documentaries about these things and Spotify podcasts about stuff. I mean, Camille Nanjiani had a X Files podcast called the X Files Files. It just gave me another reason to watch the X Files again,
Right.
but with more reason, like more intent, more like, oh, I didn't know this happened in season 3, episode 9. So you watch that season again to pick up on whatever they talked about. The
Right.
Office can only, I mean, I've watched it 10, 15 times all the way through.
Yeah.
And it's like this podcast is making me want to watch it again, but with other. Now there's more reason for me to watch it. Now I'm watching for these.
Sure
Hey,
thing.
in episode 2, season 3, whatever, there's a mug on the counter that's from the local da 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 da, and it's like, oh, I
Yeah.
kind of want to see that. With that, and not having to remake the series, if that makes any sense. It brings interest still to the current movie or series, but
Right.
not doing it in a way that they rebooted it.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
Just gives you a different perspective on it. Have we talked about how did this get made?
no,
It's a podcast. It's Paul Scheer and Jason Mantzoukas
yeah,
from the league, and
I think, is it just basically about how
I
did a
thought
movie
it
or something?
was. I thought it was gonna be how did this get made? Like this is the behind the scenes technical gobbledygook about this is how this movie got filmed or whatever. But it's about horrible films. So it's like
Who
how
greenlit?
the hell did they how did this get made? So, there's one on Jingle All the Way with Schwarzenegger and Sinbad, I think. That one's a really good episode. They did Rad, which is the BMX biking movie from the 80s. And then there's a bunch of other stuff on there, and it's hilarious. Like they watch the movie, then they all get together and talk about it in front of a live studio audience. It's one of my favorite podcasts.
I'll have to check it out because those are the kind of funny things. I mean, I always look at some of these funny movies growing up, and some of them are just because like Disney Channel would just put out whatever drivel to help people watch something in the afternoon. Like, remember the movie Brink? It was a
Yeah.
rollerblading movie. It was a movie
Oh,
about rollerblading, and they had like the back. There's times where someone was like skateboarding, and they'd like argue about who, fruit booters and all these other things. And it was just, and you watch the movie, you're like, as a kid, I was like, this is the most amazing thing ever because I rollerblade
right,
or whatever.
right,
But then you get older, you're like, who the hell was like, yeah, let's make this movie. It's a
right.
ridiculous movie. Doesn't make any sense. There was a claymation Christmas movie called Elvis the Rockin' Reindeer,
Hmm.
and or yeah, something along those lines. But it's like this claymation movie about a reindeer that's like a, you know, uh, obscure reindeer who listens to rock and roll music and like gets lost and all. It's just so stupid. And I've been trying to find it on DVD forever,
Yeah,
and there's not on there. I ended up watching it on YouTube.
yeah.
I ended up watching it on YouTube when I worked at Down East Toyota on my lunch break, not realizing the movie's like 16 minutes long. But as a kid, I thought it was a full
Right,
length feature film
right. Yeah,
because
yep,
time is so much different than when you're
yep.
younger than it is when you're older.
It sure
Um,
is.
that's pretty funny. How did this get made? I should check that out for sure.
Yeah, yeah. It's great.
Speaking of that, one of the things I was thinking about the other day was like Taylor and I were at Target the Sunday after our wedding. So like Saturday night we got married. Sunday we woke up here, had breakfast with my family. Then we're like, hey, we need a couple things. Let's go to Target. So we went to Target.
Yep,
At Target, I was like, I always check the movies, like you probably do too, obviously. But like I
yep.
go to check the movies. What's the new release? I forget what's coming out. Da da da.
Right.
It's such a weird time because there's
Yes.
no new movies. There hasn't been any new
Right.
movies in the theaters, so why would there be new movies on DVD? And so it's like a weird time since I would say at least April, because things did come out in February.
Right.
But there's like this end of April, beginning of May till now, where it's like, what movies, unless they were made direct to DVD, which
Right.
90% of those movies are not watchable.
Right.
But so I was like, this it's a sucky time for us people who love films and movies
Yeah.
because you don't get to see any of this new stuff. And then, with a Marvel Cinematic Universe freak like myself, knowing that it's already in the future for a lot of our films, and then they're even pushed even further because the movie that was supposed to come out in March or May is now coming out in November.
Right.
It's just a sad time for movies.
It is. It's pretty brutal. I do have the advantage of, being a historian. So when I go to Bull Moose, I mostly buy older stuff and collect stuff. I also very much enjoy, I should say, I go with the intention of buying older stuff, but I do buy like a lot of new releases actually, just for the theater and stuff.
Yeah.
But I will say it has saved me a lot of money over the last 6 months because I haven't gone to Bull Moose nearly as much. I was going like once or twice a week. But yeah, it's weird and it sucks. And I want movies back. I guess this week they started releasing a couple.
I think what was it? What did I see? There's I have it right here. Yeah, New
Tenet.
Mutants is Tenet's Labor Day weekend, so I think it's another
Oh,
weekend
okay.
away, and
Yeah.
then Bill and Ted is streaming on the 28th.
Right.
They're gonna do like direct on demand. I'm guessing you just buy it and then you have it, and then
Yeah.
New Mutants
Yeah.
comes
You
out
have
the
to like
20th.
pre-order it.
New Mutants is supposed to come out. There's some funny stories in these too, because there's movies that are like, okay, they were supposed to come out in April, now they're coming out in August. But then there's
Right.
other movies that were supposed to be made like 3 years ago, and they
Right.
basically have been made for 3 years, and they just get pushed
Right.
back and pushed back and pushed back. And finally,
Yep.
they're going to come out in April with a New Mutants movie, and now it get pushed to the 28th of August. And now, hopefully, it will finally come out,
Yeah.
and
I'm
it's going to
interested
disappoint
to
us
see that.
all.
Are they still doing the horror
Yeah, it's like a
kind of vibe on
horror-ish
that?
thing. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is pretty cool
Yeah.
because
I'm
I think that's
interested to
one of the
see that.
cool things that superhero movies can do.
Yeah.
I think it's like we've done the comedy ones like Deadpool
Right.
and even like
Yep.
Thor Ragnarok, and you've got your
Sure.
straight ahead action movies. You got
Yep.
your like sci-fi sorcerer type thing with Doctor Strange, and even
Yep.
that one, Into the Multiverse, is going to be more of the horror,
Yeah.
thriller kind of
I'm pretty
thing.
stoked for that one. But yeah, you think about New Mutants, like the path that has taken with the rewrites and directors dropping out. Is it even going to get made? Then Marvel buys Fox, and is it even going to get released? And then they're probably like getting rid. They're like, finally, we're going to finally get this out. They're like, oh no, a pandemic, So like, just cursed from beginning to end.
I mean, how do you think with some of these? So like obviously, um, New Mutants is coming to the theaters, which
Right.
still going to be hard for them. I don't know how many people are going to actually flock to the theaters to see it.
Right.
But with Bill and Ted going direct on demand and things like Mulan and their whole Disney Plus, but Disney Plus Premiere, where you have to still buy it. And I did read that if you buy the $30 Mulan, though, you get it for as long as you're subscribing to Disney Plus. So it's
Yeah.
not like buy it, you have to watch it within 24 hours. You own the
Right.
movie as long as you
Right.
subscribe to Disney Plus. So, I mean, you have a family of how many? What, 5?
Yeah, I think give or take a couple.
So
Yeah,
5
5.
people at 10. See, just average. It's probably more expensive now than $10 a ticket, but that's $50 for
Oh
your
yeah,
whole. Let's just say, just do it easy math. $50 for you guys to go see the movie
sure.
at the theater. So for you, if everybody in your family really wanted to watch Mulan, it's still cheaper for you to do it for $30, and you own the movie. Now you can watch it
Right.
10, 15 times.
Yep.
Especially if you have a young, like with movies like it could do well with that is like if Frozen 2 would have been stuck in this pandemic thing.
Right.
They probably really easily could have done the $30 because you guarantee all the parents are going to buy it. And
Yep.
now in order to keep it, they have to continue subscribing to Disney Plus. So Disney Plus is
Right.
going to get thousands more subscribers for a longer period of time
Right.
because you have to have it because oh, I paid $30 for this film. I probably should just renew the subscription. And
Right.
so do you think a lot of people will start trending towards things like that, or do you think that it's just basically, a hiccup in the theater industry that once we're back to normal, people will just still start releasing
I
movies?
don't. I don't think it's ever going to be the same. I think even if say we woke up tomorrow and they're like miracle cure, we're just going to spread everything in a plane and, we're going to dose everybody with like gas or whatever, like there would still be changes coming down the line because they saw how quickly the whole thing could just collapse. So they're going to have to adapt. And that's if everything was just normal tomorrow. So I I don't know. I don't really see a lot of people like running to the theater to go sit in the theater with other people right now. Maybe up here it won't be like that big of a drop off or whatever, but I mean, you know, they're gonna have to figure something out. And I think that there's also probably more revenue for them there. I mean, when you put a movie in a movie theater, like the studio is getting, like on Disney movies, they're getting 90% of the box office for the first couple weeks. Other studios are a little bit less than that, but think about, okay, that's 10% them taking off the top versus I'm streaming now. I have 100% of the profit. You know, um, so I think that it's really hard to say which way it's going to go, but I think there's going to be some like changes, and I think there's going to be some like creative approaches. The thing for me is I'm a traditionalist. I love the feeling of walking into the movie theater. I love the feeling of like the big dark room and the humongous screen and just the
They all have the
entire
same smell.
vibe. Right. Yeah. And it's
It's not
just
a
like,
bad smell. I'm just saying it's a smell. You know you're in
no,
a movie
yeah,
theater. You feel that you smell the popcorn, you smell the
right.
seats in the theater and the dark,
Yep.
dank room.
Yep.
It is an
Right.
experience.
You smell the 300-pound dude next to you while you're watching Lord of the Rings at midnight on Friday night. Yeah, that was an experience. Very very specific memory.
Did he smell
Um,
like the group of people walking, like
right.
what they would smell like along their journey?
Yeah, yeah. The orcs is what it. I was surrounded by orcs for the opening of Two Towers. Um, but yeah, so I, you know, that would be something that I would miss. And I think, like, even our theater, the screen's what, 15 by 10.
Yeah.
It approximates it, uh, but it's still more of a home theater
Mhm.
kind of setup. And it's, to a degree, it's kind of the same, but there's something about having that freaking 60-foot screen in front of you and just, it's just like, it's a vibe, man. you
And
know
it's the idea that also one of the things I always talked about renting a movie or buying a movie or even like just streaming it on Netflix is if you don't like it, you can turn it off. Because
right,
very rarely a movie has been bad enough for me to get up and leave the theater. Like a lot of
right.
times, I paid money for this. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to do it. You have to watch it at a certain time.
Yep.
It's an experience. It's a date. You're going to go out and
Right.
do it.
Yep.
The number of times we're like, let's watch this movie tonight, and then we're like, let's just watch TV, and we just
Right.
don't do the thing. So there is something to say, and it's something to say about like with your theater. It's like you're still going out to do the experience.
Right.
So what I think is going to happen with like even with Mulan and Bill and Ted and all these movies, why wouldn't the theaters release them on demand like they're going to? And then when things do get normal again, I mean, more normal than they are now,
Right.
why wouldn't you just re-release it like they do any other movies that are out there? Like, oh, Mulan, it did pretty good
Yeah.
on Disney Plus. We're gonna put it out for a limited time, the next
Yep.
3 weeks. Theaters would love it. It'd be like a payback to the theaters to say, hey, we already made a lot of money on the front end because we released it on Disney Plus, but let's put it back in the theater so those people who really like the movie or didn't get a chance to or were waiting to go out
Yeah.
and pay the $10 a ticket to go see it.
Sure.
I don't see why they wouldn't do that in the future. I mean, they've done it with movies. I mean, Titanic came back out in the theater. I mean,
Right.
they've been doing it at Bangor,
Avatar.
and they've been doing it at Bangor Cinemas recently. It's like they've been showing movies that are not current movies. And I'm
Right.
guessing they're doing okay with it because, I mean, they wouldn't stay open, I don't think, if they weren't.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, I drive by a lot because I go to Home Depot a lot, and I didn't even know they were open actually. So I'm not sure how it's going. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's tough, man, because like I saw this meme last night, and it's like oh, we just spent 6 hours. We finally decided on a movie that my wife's gonna look at her phone to, and I'm gonna fall asleep to, or
Yeah.
whatever. And in my house, it's a little different. Like I'm the one that gets distracted.
Oh, yeah.
She's the one that falls asleep. But um, yeah, it's like you said, like you're almost. It's weird to think like you're forced to watch it by going out. You know what I mean? But it does create like an entire kind of atmosphere where you're not able to be distracted so
You're not
easily.
distracted, yeah. And it's the same thing. It's like, I know there's only about probably 20 minutes left in this movie and I have to pee. I'm going to hold it.
Right, right,
Whereas at home, you'd pause the movie, you'd go pee, and then maybe get
right,
distracted or da-da-da. And as adults, maybe extracurricular activities
right.
come into
Like
play. And
I almost died during Endgame. You know, like
did
I
you
had
have
to
to use
go
the
like
bathroom?
10 minutes in, and it was like 3 more hours.
You get
Yeah.
up and you're like,
So
everybody, we know we're on the same page with this right now. Is it
right,
okay if we ask them to pause it? Can we do this
right.
right now?
Yeah, that's probably one of the things that I get the most compliments about at our place is
Mhm.
that you can get up and go get beer, or get up and go to the bathroom, and But I guess maybe the marathon of holding it is also part of the theater experience. So you know,
We stretch our
but
bladders out because of the theaters. Our bladders get bigger
right,
so we can hold it for the future.
exactly. Yeah, we're evolving. Um, yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's just kind of weird that it's like you know that that experience is what it because like when you break it down, the whole system's kind of broken. You
Hmm.
know, um, the ticket prices are way too high. The studios take way too much of the money, and movie theaters aren't actually doing that. Like that's like you're basically breaking even type of business. You're not going to get rich off it. Um, so I think that there's an opportunity to move in some other directions. If I knew what that was, I would be doing it. Maybe it's something like our model. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
It's crazy
smaller,
to think
more
about how much
personal.
money the theater, or how much money the movie industry makes as a whole. If you take the entire
Right.
encompassing movie industry and put it together into one, if they were all one company, it's billions and billions and billions of dollars.
Yes.
And yet movie theaters are struggling.
Right.
That's the crazy part about it. Like you said, there's a structure thing here, and I'm
Yeah. It's the
surprised that you
studios.
haven't seen Disney studios open their own theaters in big cities. Like, you know,
Right.
now that Disney owns that many different things, why isn't there a downtown Manhattan, Times Square Disney movie theater that only shows Disney and 20th Century Fox and all those movies on
Yeah.
screens, and they make 100% of the profits? Like,
Right.
I'm just surprised at some point. I would be surprised if Disney did, or like when you go to Florida, like in Orlando, there should be on the property for Disney World a theater that just shows Disney movies. Like, and you can
Right.
watch Lion King. Like they
Yeah.
watch like these older movies that you're like, Snow White and all these movies that came out years ago
Yep.
that you can pay
Yep.
your $15 and go see.
I think you're onto something here.
Maybe I should work for Disney.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah. So, what do you think of the Bill and Ted trailer?
It's exciting because here's the thing is we've talked a little bit about on the previous podcast we went just on a couple weeks ago, about a couple months ago now,
Yeah.
was remakes and reboots are like kind of like
Right.
worn out, but
Yep.
there's certain ones like one of my favorite reboots of a TV show is the Wet Hot American Summer they did on Netflix, because they just said slap in the face like, no, this is the next summer.
Right.
But yet
Yep.
it was made 10 years later. So it's like everybody is
Right.
way older. And
Yeah.
the same thing with like Bill and Ted. It's like not that aspect, but the idea that remaking it or making a sequel to the movie years later
Right.
and just getting the same
But
actors and actresses in
still in
it.
the
And
same timeline.
it's just, there's something special about that brings you back to the originals.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Jurassic World, I think. And when they did Jurassic World, it's like they connected it, but put it in the future. It's like,
Right.
don't reboot
Right.
in a sense. What do they call it? Soft reboot, when they bring it back future
Yeah.
but don't actually reboot it. It's like those are the kind of things they give a successful Back to the Future that maybe something like Marty and Marty's kids
Right. Yeah.
stumble upon old plans. And I mean with
Right.
Ghostbusters, the new Ghostbusters
Go.
Afterlife that was supposed to come out this summer,
Right.
right?
They go to the
Those are the
future and find the cure for Parkinson's.
yeah, exactly. Shit, Polaroid
My
picture.
apologies.
No, yeah, exactly. No, but no. But the thing is also what you could do with that is Marty could be in the movie.
Right,
He can act still. He just can't be
right,
in the long term. He couldn't do the
sure,
whole movie. But
right.
if you had him act a couple of scenes and be like,
Yep,
it's the beginning and he's talking to his dad and da 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 da, and it's their kid and Doc Brown eventually has like the kids come back like from the Wild West
right,
past and you could do something and I wouldn't mind that. The talks of them going, no, we're going to reboot the whole thing and start over again
right,
suck because like you would never reboot Star Wars. Like you'd add things to it. They might
right.
someday because of the money grubbing Disney is, but like
Yes,
I don't know. I just don't see the idea of like classic movies. You
right.
know, there's a
Did
line
you?
that if they remade Gone with the Wind, like those are the kind of movies that I got. There are movies that are that old.
Right.
I'm okay with it.
Yep.
Oh, well, obviously not Gone with the Wind. There's certain movies you can't remake anymore because of racial issues and sexual issues and all that stuff.
Right.
But old movies reboot, cool. But a movie that came out 10 years ago, I'm always like, eh.
Right. So that's kind of where it started, I think, was they started making movies that were 20 years old. They're like 20 years and now, and then they started doing it like, I mean, it got shorter and shorter and they're just remaking things constantly. And that got really old for me. So I think, yeah, we did talk about it. Like, I do kind of like the like kind of legacy type of like, we're going to like really tap into this audience and this nostalgia. Um, I will say I watched the trailer once and I thought it looked horrible.
No,
Like it looks like a really bad movie. So I was like talking to my son and I'm like, yeah, it's coming out, blah, blah, blah. But the trailer looks horrible. And I go, wait a second. The movies were horrible. I
yes,
just have like a wonderful feeling about them because they were during my childhood. It was just something completely different. Like they're not great movies, you know what I mean? Like they're classics, but they're not, good.
yes, you're right, and that's the thing is a part of it is we want it to look like we don't. There's certain movies that don't need to be masterpieces. Like there's
Right,
certain movies that just need to be stupid funny,
right,
great movies that are just like worth watching, putting it back on, watching again. And Bill and Ted was like that. And it's like when you bring it towards the future and you do another version of it, you're gonna
yeah,
get all of us who are nostalgic about it because nostalgia is huge now.
yeah, yeah,
The past 5 or 6 years, nostalgia has been like
yep,
skyrocketed. I mean, we can say
for
with
sure.
Tubular and Totally Tubular and a lot of these things
Yep,
that we do that are like Saved by the Bell, 90s throwbacks, 80s
right,
throwbacks are huge right now. And so it's like if you could make a movie and make a bunch of money off, and that's probably why they ended up going to streaming because they're like, okay, if we delay this movie, it's probably not going to be the best thing for us. So let's just put it out
right,
on streaming or on demand and see what we can get for it.
yep,
It's yeah, it wasn't the greatest trailer in the world, but it's
yeah.
not a good movie looking, but you still want to watch it. Unlike when
Oh,
Sonic's
I'm
trailer
definitely
came out,
watching it.
like when the Sonic the Hedgehog movie trailer came out, it was
Yeah,
absolute shit. You're like, now it doesn't matter what happened. I'm not gonna go see this movie. This is stupid. I might watch
right,
it if it's on Netflix, but like,
right,
I'm not going to the theater to watch Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm sorry.
right, yeah,
And they still have yet to make a good movie that was based on a video game in the theaters that is unbelievable, like
yeah,
award winning. I think there's a couple out there that are pretty cool and pretty good, but they
sure,
need to make a movie based on a video game. I think it would be badass. Actually, it would be cool a series on Netflix, a Grand Theft Auto series. I
yeah,
think that would be pretty cool, or even like an old school Red Dead Redemption status kind of series that
yep,
uses the
yep,
characters and the places from like Red Dead 2 or Red Dead 1 and
for
have
sure.
that experience, but like don't try to create your own storyline. Use the storyline from the video game.
Right,
Put it on a big screen. Like, why
yeah,
wouldn't you do that?
yeah. It's an interesting phenomenon that they can't. Although I guess it took a really long time for them to get superhero movies right as well. You know, like
I mean,
there
but
was
look at what they did
lot
with
of
like
bombs.
Super Mario could have been a unbelievable movie, which it
That's
is.
one of that I
But
think that one's on How Did It Get Made actually. That one is horrible.
there's just that's the Netflix version, like the dark. Your Punisher and your Daredevil series on
Yeah.
Netflix were pretty dark and grungy
Yeah.
and stuff. It's like that was the movie. Like, who the hell in their mind was like, we're gonna make a movie for adults
Yeah.
based off of a kid's video? I understand making an adult Super Mario in 2020 because
Right.
Super Mario came out years ago. But when you make a movie in the 90s based off of a video game that hasn't been out that long,
Right.
that most people who have played it are kids, and you
Right.
made a movie that's like would scare little children.
Yeah. There I guess I'll send you this once we're done. It's there was I don't know if you ever saw it. It's a bumper from South by Southwest maybe a decade ago, and somebody did like a fake trailer for a Mario Brothers movie, and it was amazing. It was like I watched the trailer, and still to this day I'll go back and watch it because it was like that'd be the greatest movie of all time. And it was just like very like it was like it was like Tim Burton's Batman is the actual Mario Brothers that got made, and this was like a Christopher Nolan Batman Mario Brothers. It's awesome.
Think about Tim
Uh,
Burton. Tim Burton would be an excellent director for a Mario.
yeah,
Like if you
yeah,
did Tim Burton Mario movie and it was like Nightmare Before Christmas style
right,
Mario movie,
yep,
I'd watch that in a heartbeat.
for sure.
That movie is just one of those movies that people are always like, you own this movie? I'm like, this movie's badass. Don't no, this is a badass movie.
Yeah,
The old Mortal Kombat movies. Like
yeah,
I love those movies or the old Spawn movie. They're all not good movies, but they're just
right,
I don't know. It's like I like playing these video games, so I kind of want to sit there with the controller down and watch
right,
someone else play the video game. And
sure thing.
I don't know. That,
Yeah,
but I still never understood how they got from Super Mario Brothers on Nintendo
yeah,
to the movie. If you were to put those next to each, like I'd love to show someone who's like, those like there was a TikTok thing that just came out recently that was there's this line down the middle of the screen, and there's a one side that says I know this song, and the other side says I don't know this song, and these two girls are on it, and they're supposed to like a song plays, and they're supposed to go, don't know this song, know this song, and so on. It's songs that are like Josh, the fact that they didn't know these songs made me mad, made me
right,
upset, and they're just
yeah,
like, nope. And the entire TikTok is just them on the right side saying they don't know this song,
yeah,
and I was just like, I'd love to do that with like that, like those like they feed like microwave Italian meals to actual Italian people on
right,
like whatever,
yeah,
yeah, Up Rocks or whatever it is.
yeah,
And I want to do that. I want to put them side by side and be like, this is the video game, this
right,
is the movie, and have people go, what in the hell were
yeah,
they thinking? How many drugs were they actually on when they made this
right,
movie? Which is
yeah.
funny because
Maybe
I
not
love John
enough.
Leguizamo. John Leguizamo is
Right,
one of my favorite people.
yeah. Maybe not enough for Mario Brothers, but
His
so
Spawn,
I was just gonna say, since I kind of brushed against it for a moment, did you see the DC trailers that dropped?
yes.
What's that voice?
Well, I don't like DC, so it's like I don't
Uh,
like. I watch I will anybody out there listening or watching, I do watch every DC movie. It's not like,
right.
and I do own I own all the Back to the Future Batman movies. I have Justice League over here. I do own Man of Steel. I own the Superman movies.
Yeah.
I have Suicide Squad. I do own those movies. Wonder Woman.
Right.
They're all great movies in a sense, but there's something. But there's something like if it wasn't Marvel, delete Marvel Cinematic Universe out of this world,
Sure.
those movies would be the epitome of superhero movies. They would be
Yeah.
because they'd be
Unfortunately.
obviously the only ones that are being made, but they're still better than other movies that have been made in the past for superhero movies. It's
Yes.
just Marvel's been able to be like an 11 over and
Yes.
over and over again that makes DC look like they're a 4 over and over and over again. So
Right.
I always get
Yeah.
up like if they could they make badass trailers. I will tell you that. DC
Yeah.
has
They
done
are
an
good at trailers.
amazing job where I'm like, damn, I want to watch that movie. God.
Yeah.
And then you watch the movie, you're like, oh, so all the cool parts from this movie were in the trailer. Okay, now I understand.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
which one are you looking forward? I
So
mean, are you looking forward to anything that's DC related right now, or what's up?
honestly, I think Zack Snyder gets way too much guff. Like I think he's actually like I think people criticize him way too much. And I hated Justice League with passion. I thought it was horrible. I was so mad because yeah, I'm kind of a Marvel fanboy myself, but like Batman was my first superhero, and Justice League, Super Friends, like that's how old I am, and I thought that could have been just honestly, like, if you think about it, they should be blowing Marvel out of the water. They have a great cast of characters, but I watched that Snyder cut trailer and I'm like, this looks like a completely different movie. I would actually go back to the theater and watch it. I might be disappointed again. I'm gonna be like, damn it, DC got me again. But um, I'm pretty excited to see what he had in mind.
But will
Uh,
DC and Warner Brothers ever give him credit, even if it's a success? Like, even if it's like the best movie that's ever come out of that title, that franchise,
right.
are they ever going to actually give him credit for anything? Like, the idea that it's just something they feel like they have this huge grudge against Zack Snyder. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable that they haven't done. I mean, I want Suicide Squad, like the new Suicide Squad. First, let's back up a second. The fact that they're just doing another Suicide Squad movie pisses me off. Like that
Yeah.
to me. Like, why isn't it Suicide Squad 2 with the same actors and bringing out, so on and so? There are some, but it's like
Yeah.
it's basically a reboot, and
Right.
that pisses me off. Like, if you're gonna do a reboot, shut everything down on DC. Everything that you want to be in the same universe, shut it all down.
Right.
Cancel everything. Start over again. Have all these people work together. Have executive producers that work. One of the things that was amazing about the Mandalorian TV show on Disney Plus was that each episode has its own director, but they all were there. They filmed
Right.
everything together, and everybody's like, "Oh, in my episode, I'm doing this. In my episode, I'm doing this."
Right.
And again, another cool documentary thing is the Mandalorian behind the scenes
Yeah.
thing on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
But the fact that just redoing things and rebooting things and throwing things on and changing Batmans and all this stuff will never make them, and again, Marvel fanboy, never make them equal to Marvel because of
Right.
that. But with
Yeah.
James Gunn doing Suicide Squad, that wins me over because James Gunn, to me, in my eyes right now, can't go wrong. There's no, like,
Right.
what can he do wrong right now after what he did with Guardians of the Galaxy?
Right.
So Suicide Squad, I'm looking forward to. Zack Snyder's cut, obviously, is supposed to be tremendously better. Hopefully,
Right.
that will be better. But you're right; it's gonna get us in the theater or watch the movie where we're like all
Right.
pumped up, we're all like, on high, and
Yeah.
oh.
Matt Reeves' Batman looks great.
Yes,
I really do think it looks. I mean, it's got like I don't know. It's got some interesting pieces of stories that haven't been told cinematically yet. Um, so
but
I'm
that's one
interested to
thing I
see
will
that.
say they did right, which is you have to, not nobodies, but like take a chance on someone. Robert
Yeah.
Pattinson, or what's his name? Pattinson? Is that his name?
Yep.
Is not a nobody, but he's a nobody now. Like, he was in Twilight.
Right.
What other movie can you name that he was in?
A couple, but he was in the Lighthouse. He was really good
But
in the Lighthouse. But like he's been so after Twilight, he was like, I hate that I was in Twilight for 7 movies. I want to be a serious actor,
yeah,
and went and did a bunch of indie stuff and actually like not mainstream at all, but has proven his acting chops kind of behind the scenes. You know what I mean? And
but
then,
get someone that does that, but
but
it's
then
not your A actors, because that's the
right,
problem that they've always done with Batman. They've always been like, let's get Val
right,
Kilmer and let's
right,
get, Christian. I mean, Christian Bale was obviously probably the only thing I remember Christian Bale being in really good in is like no,
American
American
Psycho.
Psycho. And then
Yeah,
I watched Newsies as a kid over and over
yeah,
and over again. But like
yeah,
the idea of, and they made 3 amazing Batman movies with that
yeah,
character, that the actor that was not nobody, but just not, they took it.
right,
Marvel took a chance on Robert Downey Jr., which ended up launching a franchise that is one of the greatest franchises ever. But then
right,
you look at a lot of these actors and actresses that are playing, they're not, as they grew up and now they're in 23, 24 movies, they started to be able to hire people that are like
right,
great actors. But at the beginning, give these people that are just kind of like been like, putting along a
right,
chance. And giving Robert Pattinson a job like Batman could
right,
be a saving grace for the Batman
sure,
franchise, because let him take that and run with it and be,
right,
don't use a name to sell the name of the actor to sell the movie.
right,
Use the character's name to sell the movie.
right,
Ask someone right now, give me 5 superheroes. 4 of them are going to be DC people. One of them is going to be Spider-Man. Guarantee
right,
you. I mean,
Yeah.
Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman,
Right.
Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be. So why they haven't been able to do it, like you said, I think part of it's this casting. I don't think they do a good job casting. But
Yeah, for sure. And I think that they have a hard time finding like a not that like not everything has to be a cinematic universe, you know what I mean? But there has to be some type of overarching approach. So it doesn't necessarily have to be all tied in together. And I think they're starting to maybe figure it out a little bit with like, but it's still kind of like confusing because you got like you did like the Justice League and Batman versus Superman and all that, and then Joker is outside of the Suicide Squad, the new Joker. Then you have new Batman, but now it just came out this week that in the Flash movie that they're still talking about doing, they're bringing back Batfleck and Michael Keaton. So I don't know if we're like in New 52 territory or what's happening.
but you're right about not having to create a cinematic universe because you don't have to do that. Obviously,
Right.
Marvel's been successful at it, and I think people may want that to think that they can compete with Marvel.
Right.
But you shouldn't create a superhero movie now that you only make one. Like you
Right.
should go into a superhero movie now that you know there's gonna be a sequel to it because that's what people want. I think
Right.
if you sign on Robert Pattinson to play Batman, you should sign him on for 3 films,
Right.
and you should make 3 films and use the same characters. And if you put a Batwoman or a Batgirl or whatever you want to put in there, pull them in. But yes, Batman and Joker have been tied together for history, basically.
Right.
The Suicide Squad and Joker tied together. So when you start making movies that are outside that thing, those people like myself who've been Marvel fans for years get confused. Like,
Right.
wait, they don't know each other. They're in a different spot. Because Joker was probably one of my favorite movies that DC's made in recent years.
Right.
But like, they kicked ass with the first with the what's his name, Christian Bale Batman series, and that whole
Right.
thing. It's like I'll watch The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises over and over and over again
Yep.
because they did a great job with it. I just don't know. I don't. It's like DC's gonna have to like crush our movie, like absolute crush
Yeah.
our movie, for me to be like, oh, okay, because I'm never gonna read DC comic books. I'll be honest right now, because I
Yeah.
just have too much to read from Marvel as it is, and
Right.
then I've started to branch out a little bit to more like I'm into the new TMNT ongoing series for comic books and
Yep.
some other independent artists and some things
Yep.
from Scout comic books and Murder Hobo and all those guys. Like those are the comic books that I'd rather get into than
Right.
go into another big conglomerate. Like I have my Marvel, I have my Image, and then I do my Murder Hobo and those kind of things. And then
Yeah.
so I've been reading like Undiscovered Country and all those things that I hope get made into TV shows or movies.
Yeah.
For me to read a DC comic book is going to be there's no reason for me to start doing that now.
Right.
So for me, the DC world for me is a movie or TV show.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I did like the Arrowverse and the Flash
Yeah.
and all that stuff they did on the CW, which obviously was similar to Smallville and all those movies were
Right.
shows were it's geared towards 14-year-old girls and guys, but
Right.
I like it. It was good. They did I think
Yeah.
that's one of the best things they've done. And they created
Yeah.
the Arrowverse and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's something crazy going to happen in that DC world for me to absolutely love it. I just
Right.
I don't know. There's something, Wonder Woman comes out this summer, right?
Yep.
October.
Yep.
October 2nd, it's Wonder Woman.
It's it's like summer has been delayed.
Yes, we just shifted summer because
Right.
which is funny because Wonder Woman was supposed to come out in June. It's
Right.
now coming in October. Black Widow was supposed to come out in May, which is now coming out in November. But I think what
They did
Marvel did was
announce that was gonna be my next question was
November
Widow.
6th.
As you know, I am a pretty substantial Black Widow fan, so
Yes.
I've been waiting for it.
And so, but I think Marvel did is Marvel picks their dates. Like Marvel has like November 6th and May and
Right.
July this. And I think they just shifted it. They didn't pick a new date. They just shifted it to the next
Right.
date. The next date
Yep.
was November 6th. So that would be Black Widow. And then I don't know if any other superhero movies. The Eternals is now February 12th. And that's the other thing that
Interesting.
Marvel's doing, I think, great is they've taken chances on things people know nothing about.
Right.
Like
and I mean, February is the dead season.
Hmm.
Like that's when you release movies that you do not care about.
Well, you release a
Black
movie like
Panther killed
Eternals.
in February.
It,
Killed.
it's it's again because of the fact that it's not a sequel, but it is. It's like I
Right.
have to watch this movie, and I mean they did a great job releasing it in Black History Month too. I mean, let's be honest, that's probably
Right.
a marketing
Right.
thing. But the Eternals again is I think the Eternals is on the same plane as the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is
Right.
a comic book that people don't know what the hell is. What the hell is the Eternals?
Right.
But they're going to take a chance and they're going to make a comic book movie based off of something that no one knows anything about. And
Right.
hopefully people go out there and download the Marvel digital subscription and read the Eternals so have a little idea what's going on. But they're
Sure.
going to create another movie that has no known, and they take risk on actors. I just
Yep.
mentioned Kumail Nanjiani earlier, who's a comedian.
Yep.
He's in the movie as one of the Eternals.
Yeah.
Like that stuff
You
is
get ripped
badass.
too.
Yeah, it's
Ripped.
so funny because you watch Silicon Valley at all?
Oh yeah, I love
Yeah,
that
and
show.
they did that joke like it's towards the end, like the very last season, he's ripped because he was filming the Eternals, and they're all
Right.
like, "What the hell happened to you?"
Yeah.
It's like when
Yeah.
Chris Pratt was in Parks and Recreation, and he's walking down the
Right.
stairs in England on the episode they were in England, and I'm like, "Wow, man, you look great," because he was filming Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's like, "Yeah, I just
Yeah.
gave up soda. It's really crazy." I just love how they called attention to it. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, Ghostbusters Afterlife is March 5th now. And then Morbius, which is something I was super looking forward to this summer,
Yeah.
is now March 19th. So a lot of them
Yeah.
just, I think they feel like they just did it a year later,
Yep.
you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Marvel has definitely like earned the benefit of the doubt with those movies of
Hmm.
things that you're just like, what is there? I mean, I honestly I didn't know much at all about Guardians before I went and saw that. That's a pretty obscure title before that happened,
Oh, it
and
was.
yeah, um, and it
Guardians
was like
1,
my
like the
favorite
first
movie when it came out.
Guardians 1, like the Guardians, not one movie, but Guardians issue 1 in the comic books was in the
Yep.
50-cent bin for
Right.
years. I mean, I
Yep.
have first appearances of things that mean nothing. Like I own
Right.
comic books that are just like first appearances of X, Y, and Z, and it's like nothing will ever that won't mean anything to anybody ever.
Right.
But like a 50-cent comic book that you threw away, or you're like, hey, I need to wrap something up to ship something. You'd rip up Guardians of the Galaxy
Right.
1, ship it out. Ended up becoming a comic book that's worth a ton of money because of a movie franchise that
Yeah.
took off and exploded. So like obviously now people are catching on to these things. So like Eternals 1 is like
Right.
already worth a bunch of money. But it's like this idea that create a comic book movie off of something that's no one can relate it to anything. And that's a
Right.
big thing to me. Because how many times have you gone and seen a movie? I went and saw what's that movie? The video game movie, Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not a video game movie. It's a book movie, but
Right.
so it's really not based on a video game. But I went with a friend Randy. You know Randy.
Yep. Dirty Randy.
Yeah, we went to the movie to see that movie, and the book was better. That aspect is a very common thing when you see a movie based off of a book. And
Sure.
so if you create a movie based off of a book that no one's read,
Right.
then it's actually going to be no one can, the comic book was better. No one's read Eternals comic book, or
Right.
not no one, but like a lot of people haven't. So
Right.
I can't go into the theater and be like, oh, this is not as good as the movie. In the comic book, it did this, that, and the other thing. If you
Right.
create a comic book movie based off of a comic book no one's read, you can't go wrong.
Right.
Because the comic book
Yeah.
is now going to be related to the movie and not the opposite.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think maybe I don't know. For me, like Ultron was one of those things where I was like, I know how this goes, and some of the changes I wasn't because I'm a like Tony Stark fanboy, so I'm like, why are they make it Tony's fault? But yeah, you're right. I mean, where you're just given like a blank slate to do whatever you want to do, it definitely works.
you're right, but I also chalk it up as a Marvel fanboy again. I don't feel like I have to preface this every time, but I'm always like, yeah, but movie rights, and I always come up with an excuse of why they had to change it. Because yes,
Right.
they did have to change it. Because like in Civil War, Spider-Man, Wolverine, all these characters they didn't have rights to at the
Right.
beginning weren't
Right.
going to be part of it, so you couldn't do it that way. And so
Right.
the exact same thing comes on with Ant-Man wasn't a big thing at that point. So Hank Pym created Ultron technically, and And so
Right.
the stuff is you couldn't do it because of rights and all this other stuff. And it's like I always chalk it up to that, even though some of that's real and some of it's not. But I'm always like, yeah, movie
Right.
rights, and I blame that.
I was like the whole time before it came out, I was like trying to justify it. Like I'm like coming up with all these like crazy harebrained theories about what's actually going to happen that absolves Tony Stark of any fault. But anyway.
I mean, they did a good job at what it was. If you hadn't read
Yeah.
the
After I
comic
saw it,
books,
I
yes,
was happy with it. You know what I mean? Like it made sense. It fit into a storyline. All of that. It was just like sometimes when you are a hardcore comic reader and you'll see things coming out in the movies, you'll be like,
yes.
duh, why are they changing that?
So there's a funny thing is that some of these movies actually worked out pretty well. Like West Side Story was supposed to come out December 18th, still coming out December 18th. Coming to
Yeah.
America, which is the sequel to Coming to America, but these are number 2 instead of the TO. Unchanged. The new Dune movie coming out, unchanged. But like I said, some of these are moved because of the fact that other movies got put in their place. So like,
Right.
Eternals got moved to February because it was supposed to come out when Black Widow is coming out and so on. But it's just so fun. F9, Fast and the Furious 9.
Yeah.
Oh God, I was looking at a bunch of movies. Quiet Place Part 2 is coming out next year. Godzilla versus Kong. Spiral. Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson.
Huh.
This seems interesting.
Yeah.
Venom, the new Venom movie is gonna be awesome. Top Gun 2 or Maverick. Uncharted movie. So the Uncharted movie could be the first video game movie that actually becomes. But Uncharted it's based on a book, isn't it?
I don't know.
I don't know. I thought it was, but
Yeah.
that's Tom Holland. I mean, that could be a good movie.
Tom Holland's the star.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously you catch me in there, yeah.
Yeah.
But Uncharted, starring Tom Holland, was the first of next year's blockbuster to be officially moved. It bounced around in schedule a few times from March, then October, then back to July 6th of 2021. So it's July 4th weekend, in a sense, of next year is Uncharted, which is based off of the video game that our friend Ben Bishop is a big fan of too.
Yeah.
Video game a lot, but so yeah, I'm excited. That's what I'm excited for is the aggregate movie. From Ben Bishop. That's what I'm excited for. And they're actually, I don't know if you watched the Comic-Con panel with Kevin Eastman, Ben Bishop, and the who is it? Who's Allard? Is that who wrote Drawing Blood with them? They are in works of a TV show or a movie with Drawing Blood, which would be badass. So that would be cool. I love those kind of things that are like, kind of false fiction, realistic, kind of like everything.
Right.
But so in the sense, will you be buying Bill and Ted on demand?
I don't think that I will be able to resist. I don't know what the price is on it.
I mean, I guess it's on demand. It's not going to be $30. I don't think. I mean,
my business is closed down. Unemployment insurance is running out, and I will probably still buy it and watch it and be like, this is horrible. Why did I do this? And then spend the next 2 weeks thinking about it, how awesome it was.
See, I think the benefit of people doing this on demand thing is that like we're not going out. So like Taylor and I have gone to some restaurants to sit on the patio as long as we're spaced apart and so on. We go to Target because we feel Target's pretty safe. We stay our distance. Target's never really overcrowded either, so it's like you feel like you can keep your distance. We do Hannaford to go right now, so we're still trying to keep our distance. So we're staying home a lot, and when we stay home a lot, like what are we gonna do? There's only a certain number of things. I will say I watched the trailer on Netflix this morning for Power Project.
Yeah.
It's like a mix between, what did Taylor say? It looked a lot like Iron Man 3 with the extremists and a mix between Limitless with the pill. So you turn the pill a certain way and it activates it, you eat it and you get a superpower, but you don't know what superpower it is. It only lasts for 5 minutes. It's pretty cool. Jamie Foxx is in it.
Okay.
So it's on Netflix. So I was like, oh, that looked pretty cool. So I sent her to the trailer this morning to be like, hey, so we might watch that tonight.
Yep.
And so there's some things that you want to watch on TV, but like at the point when Bill and Ted comes out on the 28th, you might say to yourself, well, what else is there to watch that's new that we haven't seen?
Right.
And it may just be like oh, I guess this is what we have to watch. Not
Right.
but like a more like, I want to watch something new and this is what's out. And so that could be kind of beneficial to some of these companies with, September 4th with
Absolutely.
Mulan. It may just be like,
You
oh,
have
I have
a
Disney Plus, and when you
yeah.
press a button to buy something on the TV, it's so much easier than having to take your debit card out.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's like, having one touch buy on Amazon or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, they definitely have somewhat of a captive audience right now. So, I mean, the issue then becomes the fact that they've created such a large universe of options, because like we were going through our stuff yesterday because like my debit card got hacked or whatever and I had to change my number. And so all of a sudden we didn't have Netflix, we didn't have Hulu, but we were going through. Like, okay, we got Netflix, Hulu with live TV, and ESPN Plus, and Disney Plus, and Amazon Prime,
Yeah.
and we have them all. And so, like, if I have all of those things available for me to watch, why am I going to pay another 15, 20, $25 to watch something that I know eventually will be free on those streaming services?
And the idea that you probably will find something you haven't seen in a long enough time that will be quote unquote new to you. Like you'll know some lines, but you'll know some scenes. But
Right.
like there's still movies that I watched from 10 years ago that I'm like, oh, I forgot this happened in this movie, or I forgot this person was in the movie. Yeah. Is there that aspect that you have all this stuff that you could watch now? And then
Right.
likely a movie like Bill and Ted's going to end up on some sort of streaming service,
Right.
or $5.99 used at Bull Moose when it actually comes to Blu-ray. Like,
so I think an interesting kind of example of this for me was the Rise of Skywalker. Wait, that was the name of the last one, right?
yes, right.
Yeah, Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. Which I just watched for the first time on Disney Plus. I hadn't
Right.
like during COVID.
So that's what happened. Was I was stuck inside the house. I had heard it was horrible. I fought the urge. It like wasn't out on Blu-ray yet. Everything got delayed. It wasn't out on Disney Plus, and then like it hit, Amazon. I think I was able to like, rent it or whatever. But it took me like a long time to like bite the bullet on actually paying for it. And I actually didn't think it was nearly as bad as people said it was, but
And that's like, I love doing these episodes where we talk movies and stuff like that, and we'll give our opinions and so on. Like it's fun to talk to someone about other opinions and stuff. But let's be honest, our opinions mean shit. Like your opinion means nothing. My opinion means nothing. You have a different love for movies than I have a different love for movies. I just talked about how much I love Marvel movies, but there's someone out there that's the equal opposite of me.
Oh yeah.
That Marvel movies suck and Disney movies or DC movies are their favorite things that's ever come out.
Right.
So there is
Those
that
people are
aspect.
weird.
Those people are not people you want to hang out with, but no,
Yeah.
but there is that aspect of like, whenever I read a review on something, I'm like, let me actually just like watch this movie myself. Like,
Right.
I don't go see that movie. No, that's not, no. Like, I'll go
Right.
see that movie. I want to go see that movie. Every Marvel movie, you'll see me in the theater. Like, one of the benefits I do love about Marvel's movie being delayed till November is that now I don't have to go to the theater until November.
Right.
Let's be honest. Like,
sure.
I don't want to have to go to the theater right now, but I also don't want to not go see. There's Doctor Strange was the only one that I missed, and that was because I was going through a horrible time in my life.
Yeah.
That I didn't get a chance to go to the theater to see, and I had to wait for it to come out on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Every other DC Marvel movie I've seen in the theater.
Yeah.
I'm not going to miss this. In November, I'm going to bite the bullet. Even if Taylor doesn't want to go, I'm going to wear my mask the whole time, and I'm going to go to the theater and sit down and watch Black Widow.
Yeah.
So people's opinions don't matter to me, is what I'm trying to say. It's like that aspect of it. Like, make your own opinions, do your own thing. It's like same thing with restaurants or anything like that. Like, a number of times I've read a restaurant review and be like, this is horrible. This is
Right.
and I go there and like, this is the best restaurant I've been into in a while.
Right.
It's timing, it's comedic. I mean, honestly, you know it. There's movies you've watched at a certain period in your life where you weren't doing amazing and you weren't super happy, and you watched a movie and you're like, I don't get it. then you're
Right.
happy and you have a amazing wife and you have a great family and and you watch the movie, you're like, this movie's badass. It's like
Right.
your physical emotions and your mind state and how tired you are and what time of day it was and what day of the week it
Sure
is
thing.
does change how you like things. And
Absolutely.
I've tried
Or even who you
food.
watch it with.
Yes.
You know,
Or
like
where you
I'm
watch it.
big on like I do watch a lot of films by myself, but I would always prefer to, even I guess even if we didn't even talk about it afterwards, like just the experience of like sharing it with somebody, I think makes a big difference.
One of the things I was told years ago about relationships, and we'll wrap this up here in a second, but like one of the things you always should do if you're first starting to date someone or go on dates with someone, go see a movie at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, watch the movie in the theater, then go to somewhere like Orno Brewing Company or a local restaurant, just a little tag there, and sit down, eat dinner after the movie to
Yeah.
talk and discuss the movie you just saw.
Yep.
Because the number of times people go, I'll go to dinner and a movie. It's like dinner, then you go see the movie, and you drop the person off, and you go home,
Right.
and then you have no one to talk to about the movie.
Right.
Go to a movie, then go to dinner, and so on. Or
Yeah.
go to Queen City Cinema Club
Right.
and go see a movie, rent a theater for a couple of hours at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and then come out and sit at the bar
Right.
and discuss the
And
movie
have
that
dinner.
you just saw,
Right.
have dinner, and talk to the bartender about the experience with your significant other.
Absolutely. I mean, you may have to sit at a table and have me come over and stand
Either
6
way,
feet
I'm just
away, but
saying that there is that aspect that I feel like
yes.
one of the things that people miss out the most on movies and why they probably give you a bad review is because no one talks about the movie afterwards.
Right.
Josh and
For
I like to
sure.
talk a lot. This is a thing, though. It's like I feel like one of the big benefits I think of seeing movies or TV shows or reading a book or comic book or doing anything in media is the ability to talk to someone else about your feelings about it. And I think
It's the community.
it's amazing. And that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons you started your spot. I mean, let's be honest.
Right.
You wanted the community,
And
and board games are part of that, and video games are part of
yep,
that. And
it's probably my favorite part of being there and working is just I hang out at the bar and you got like 6 or 7 people sitting around the bar just talking about any of those subjects. Like there was a lot of comic book, there was a lot of video game, there was a lot of everything, you know what I mean? So just like being able to sit behind that counter and like have a place for those conversations.
why do you think there's Twitch? You know what I mean? Like Twitch is there
Right.
not just because people want to show off their video game skills. It's a place for people to talk. Our friends at Winter House Gaming, they're
Yep.
online streaming all the time. It's because other people in their community enjoy watching them do things. If you
Right.
do something stupid in a video game, someone else can be like, haha, what an idiot. If you do
Right.
something crazy, they can say something good. So the same thing, and that's why Netflix did that whole party thing where you can watch a movie with someone else. The
Yep.
community based around it is huge. And that's why, again, I think the same thing is with going to a theater, whether it's your theater or an actual big movie theater, is when you leave the movie and the lights come on, everybody's leaving, to hear people going, oh, that was a good movie. Oh, that was
Right.
amazing. This happened. And you hear people, it's not a community that you're directly involved with because you're not having the
Right.
conversation, but you hear the talks and you hear people talking about it. And if people, I don't, not there that often at your place when someone walks out of a theater, but my guess is someone walks out of a theater and someone goes, what'd you watch? And they're like, we
Right.
watched,
Oh yeah.
you know,
Almost
Friday
every
the
time.
13th or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, I love that movie. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
So I think there is a community. And I think that's one thing we've lost with COVID is this community-based stuff that we can't do, which is kind of
Right.
sad. I do feel for the live music industry and the live play industry and all that stuff, but like my passion is comic books, movies, TV shows, things in multimedia, video games, and
Right.
I'm excited for the community-based things to get back to normal in a sense that
Yeah.
I can watch a movie with friends, whether it be at a local place, small theater in a rural town,
Yeah.
Bangor Cinemas, or at Queen City Cinema Club in downtown Bangor. That community thing is cool. And I think I'd love to be able to start that in the future where we talk a little bit more. I think every time I have Josh on, we'll talk about obviously pop culture and movies and stuff because that's, it's his avenue. But I think it's a cool place for me to talk to someone that's not my significant other or
Right.
because I don't have any, like right now, it's like if I'm serving at Orno Brewing Company, I'm checking on tables and someone's like, hey, I see you wearing a Marvel shirt. Do you love Marvel? I'm like, hell yeah, let's talk about
Yeah.
this.
Right.
At some point, I can only talk about it so much with my wife.
You're
So
pretty much the only person that I talk to outside of my family, except for, well, Pete Hansen is my contractor, so I get to talk
Ah,
to him quite a bit.
Pete.
But
I love Pete. So, hey,
yeah,
Josh, if you ever, I have Mondays off now. Well, technically, swap Tuesday, Monday. But if you ever need any extra hands, I can come in and stay my distance from you. We can help do some stuff
appreciate it.
at your shop. So I think I'm gonna
Sounds good.
talk to Paul from Galactic Comic Books now, which was supposed to be this week, but we changed it around. He'll
Yep.
be on Thursday night for next week.
Yep.
And I'm trying to get my old my old English teacher and the current Bangor High School principal to get
Yep.
on the podcast and talk about how schools are crazy right now and so on.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure
but I
he's
think
not busy at all. So
no. But it's funny because he's like, hey, he's like, I'd love to get on there, and it's
right.
like, I think it'd be cool because I ran into him, I want to say 2 years ago at OBC Bangor.
Yeah.
He was at the bar drinking a beer, and I was like, oh my god, the last time I saw this dude, the last time, I was 18 years old, finishing high school.
Right.
Right. So I moved to Massachusetts. 10 years later, I moved back to Bangor. Now I see him at the bar, and in my mind, I'm still 18 years old.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm like, I'm not supposed to be drinking this beer. What the hell? Oh my God, what's going to happen? And so then I ended up buying a beer, which is one of the most weird things I've ever done is you buy an old
Yeah.
teacher you had a beer, which is pretty
Yeah.
crazy. So hopefully they can chat and stuff like that. But
Yeah. No,
next
that'd
time,
be cool.
hopefully by the time we come back to get together on a podcast together, we'll have seen some of these new movies and we can discuss.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll force each other to buy the Bill and Ted movie, and we'll do a
Yeah.
special edition podcast talking about just the Bill and Ted movie.
Like I said, you're probably not gonna have to twist my arm too hard. I've been waiting for the return of the Wild Stallions for 20 years.
But it's really great. So Josh is not knowing when he's going to open again. The third time we've
Right.
talked to him, we have no idea what's going on. No. But we're glad to see some progress, man. I'm excited for what's going to happen later
absolutely.
on. I hope at some point these podcasts that we're doing between Josh and I are actually filmed and recorded at Queen City Cinema Club.
Yeah.
That will be the goal.
We can definitely do that.
But so keep an eye on Queen City Cinema Club's Facebook page, Instagram.
Yep. Yep.
For any
I'm gonna start
updates.
updating all the social media, the website, all that stuff and start dropping some, pictures and stuff like that. So we're getting there. Promise.
But it's not. Like I said, it's nice.
Is that place open yet?
Yeah, exactly. No, that was pretty funny. Project Power just came on the screensaver on my thing. What's his name? Third Rock from the Sun.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yes, he's also in it. So it's
really?
Jamie Foxx and Joseph Gordon-Levitt are both in that movie. So
interesting.
Now you're gonna have to look at the trailer and watch it because that's
I will.
I think we should do that. So Josh and I will probably come back. I haven't talked to him about this, but we're going to come back at some point and do a special podcast talking about reviewing actual movies. That we'll watch movies. I think that'd be cool too. So
yeah, absolutely.
But thanks for joining us, Josh, at Queen City Cinema Club. Is that like usually Facebook/Queen City Cinema Club?
Yep.
At Queen City Cinema Club.
Yep.
Follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Again, I thank you for joining me. We'll be back at some point with Josh. Until then, watch movies. Find something to do during this crappy time we're in and watch the movies. If anybody watches the new Bill and Ted movie, get at me. So I want to know if they like it or not before I watch it.
Right.
But thanks for joining me, Josh.
Yeah, thanks for having me, dude.